Greetings and welcome to another edition of This Is My Offer. My name is Vijay Raghavendra. I lead the global partner development efforts for data analytics, covering the industrials vertical. Today, we're joined by our partner, Don Mishory from Storm Reply, and I'd like to welcome Don by asking him to introduce himself. Don?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. I appreciate the invitation to come speak with you today. My name is Don Mishory. I'm the managing partner with Storm Reply. We are a part of the Reply network of companies. Reply is a global solution provider, system integrator. We're about $2 billion in revenue annually and thousands of employees throughout the globe. My focus and the focus of Storm Reply is building solutions on top of the AWS platform. And specifically today, we're going to talk about some supply chain solutions. I'm proud to say that we recently, at reInvent in 2023, were once again named the System Integrator Partner of the Year in EMEA, and we bring a lot of that strength with our relationship with AWS to our solutions.
Oh, thank you for that. So, Don, together we develop offerings to solve some of the most complex problems that our customers face, right? And we've been working together on co-developing offerings for a while. And based on the experience of your interaction with clients, would you be able to talk about some key business challenges that our customers are facing? And based on your experience, what challenges that you're hearing from customers, especially around deployment of analytics and advanced analytics and how data plays into it?
Sure. No, thank you. Well, it's interesting that you ask because we just very recently, in November of 2023, did a survey of our customers. And we asked the customers specifically questions like that. The top topic that is most on top of our customers' minds right now is AI. And how do we bring AI into our businesses? So we did a survey of 265 of our largest customers globally. Rather than doing a survey of, rank your top 3 issues or yes, no questions, we actually simply asked 2 open-ended questions and allowed our customers to input their answers. The questions were, are there reasons you have for adopting AI, and what are your concerns? Many of our customers took an opportunity to write, a few sentences or a few paragraphs, and we ran that through some AI algorithms to kind of categorize and understand their responses. We found it to be really, really an interesting way at looking at the data. Reasons for adopting AI. The one trend that came across in the answers that we saw is customers today are less focused on inventing the next great product with AI or completely changing how they do business with AI. Rather, they're looking at the technology today as an opportunity to improve their business and their operations, a little more internally focused initially. Productivity improvement was a key theme. Decision making and innovation, helping business leaders, rather than having to dig through data, have AI kind of give them some options, which they can then use to make their own business decisions. One of the other key areas was content creation and workflow, the power of generative AI to create content that can then be used both internally and externally. The concerns were equally interesting. Very little where we saw concerns about technology, which large language models, which vendors and all that to use. It was really around how do you bring it into business in a responsible, ethical way. So data privacy and security was a top concern, and that aligned very closely with bias and discriminations. Our customers are very worried that the AI, will not look at everyone the same way, or that the AI will, the term we use is hallucinate and come up with answers that are not exactly appropriate. Regulatory is still very, very important. I think that's why the focus on internally looking solutions. So our customers are looking initially at those solutions that don't touch their partners or customers. And then, and I'll talk a little bit more about this maybe later, governance and supervision. How do you bring in this truly disruptive, game-changing technology set and govern it and manage it as you would your other technologies.
Oh, this is great. And surely some of those really compelling issues that directly contribute to how and our enterprise customers, achieve their efficiencies in their operating model. You mentioned two important aspects here, especially in the concerns area, right, which are around data privacy and data governance. Can you talk a little bit more about how you're helping customers address some of these data management issue, especially given that most enterprises are sitting on piles and piles of data of all sizes, all shapes, structured, unstructured, and things like that. And data ingestion also tends to become a problem as you're trying to bring data from multiple sources. Can you talk a little bit more about how you are helping clients address these issues?
Sure. So some of the issues that we're addressing, are issues that organizations have had for years with and without AI, governance and supervision being, clearly an important one. What we did within Reply is we sat down and we brought together some of our business and technical leaders and said, we want to put together a framework, a way for discussing AI with business leaders. Many of the discussions that you see out there, and I read a lot of them. I know, Vijay, you read a lot of them because you often share them with me, revolve around how it works. How does the technology work? What's a neural network? What are the, large language models? It's very important to understand that. You really shouldn't, in our opinion, start there. So we kind of look at thinking about AI in 3 layers. The first layer is what we call the organization layer, right? You have to have a basic understanding as an organization of how you want to manage your future in AI. It's tied into your existing governance processes. We're not talking about creating something new, but we're talking about adding to how you currently govern, and specifically putting together statements, guiding principles, guardrails around important things like governance, what you can and can't do, ethics, guardrails around ethics. How is an organization going to use AI? How will we not use AI, right? That's really important to understand as well. And then security. The data layer is what makes your AI actually happen. And the key in the data layer is making sure that your enterprise data, that is an incredibly rich source of information for AI, is accessible, secured, and available to your AI engines. It's also important to understand, and I'll throw in the one techie term here, the foundation model. But those models are what ultimately allow you to enrich your data with some of the AI out there. And lastly, public data sources, right? Understanding the public data sources available to you, whether they are free or paid, is something that really enriches AI. The last piece we encourage leaders to look at is the content layer. And frankly, the content layer is generally the introduction that most business leaders get to AI. The thing is the content layer will change rapidly. It will emerge. There will be new things that are exciting. The organizational layer, the governance layer underneath, is what really allows you to understand how you're going to use content. So that's what we're kind of advising our customers to think about.
So this is great. I especially like the kind of the multi-layered, multi-tiered approach to deploying AI, and how data plays, is front and center of enabling this, deployment of AI applications. Let's make it a little more real. If we are able to, I know we've been talking about or working together on an application called SupplySense that is now also, that will be socializing pretty soon, and it addresses some key supply chain challenges that our customers are facing. Would you be able to talk a little bit more about SupplySense and provide more perspective on that?
Yeah. So one of the areas that we work in closely is we work with a lot of manufacturers, distributors, retailers, organizations that generally make stuff and ship stuff, is how we like to say it. And those organizations are very, very data rich. Their data, however, is generally locked in, in very large systems, structured systems that have been up and running for many, many years. I mean, many of our customers run products from either SAP or Oracle or Microsoft for their ERP platforms. NetSuite's a big one as well, owned by Oracle. They usually have warehouse management systems, transportation management systems, all valuable systems, seeing business outcomes from. What we like to suggest is, how do we take advantage of the data that lives there? And data lake technology, which has been around for a few years, but building out the data lake is a critical piece. So being able to take that data that lives in your structured systems and put it into an area where we can then start to analyze it. What we love about working with AWS is the ability to move data from your structured systems into a data lake is something that AWS worries about. We don't really worry about it. With products such as Glue, AWS has built a wide network of connectors to different platforms. So the idea is moving that data that's important into a data lake, and I'll talk a moment about that. The other thing that's important is being able to then go start to bring in some of that enriching data, that public data. So we see organizations pulling in census data and weather data and traffic patterns and things like that into their data lake, often from free sources. But like I said earlier, the paid sources are becoming really, really interesting, because you've got vendors out there that are creating models that are purpose-built for analysis and enriching data. So once you bring data into the systems, into a platform, it's really important to organize it. And we believe in organizing using a medallion architecture. It's a common pattern that we see across vendors. You then start to enrich it as you need to use it. So we like to say, bring all the data in and then do something with it as the use case evolves, right? So, for many of our customers, it's analyzing demand, or we are building in our SupplySense platform. One use case that we found is very important is transportation. Being able to take your ship to, where I'm shipping to and where I'm shipping from, and not only looking at it from a cost perspective, but also looking at it from a risk perspective. So if I need to ship from China to Europe, I may get a price to use a freighter, but I also want to understand the risk. Is the Panama Canal closed? Are the global challenges that we're having throughout the world going to get in the way? And bringing in that enriching data to help make decisions, going back to where we were before. So the SupplySense solution has basically implemented this architecture as a pattern for up to 14 different supply chain use cases. And Vijay, those are use cases that you and I have spent a lot of time talking about. I've learned a lot about them from you and your long history in supply chain. But the idea is to create a platform that allows us to look from initial sourcing all the way through transportation on this platform. The last piece the two last pieces that are really important about this architecture is then how do we enrich with the world of GenAI, right? These large language models. And today, there's roughly 100 large language models that are generally considered to be the key. We believe there'll be thousands in the next few years, and the large language models will actually get smaller and more specific. Amazon or AWS is really making it simpler. So we don't have to invent the way to connect those large language models. You guys are doing that with the billions of dollars of research and I think 20 years of Amazon history in the supply chain. And really we're using your services, SageMaker, which we've been using for a long time, and now Bedrock, Amazon Bedrock, which is emerging as the key piece for working with those models. And lastly, how do people get to the information, right? It's great to have a data lake and all of this that will surface up information. But the key is, and that's the user interfaces, providing the data that you need, the decision-making criteria at the right place at the right time. So what we've built into the SupplySense platform is a front end that's very intuitive and easy to navigate for these different use cases, a mobile front end. But just as easily, you'll be able to expose that data up through your ERP. So a shipping clerk sitting and making a decision on what I just talked about, which option to take, we can surface that data back through APIs into your core systems. So the architecture, AWS is very traditional data lake architecture, but applied to this business problem is what SupplySense is. And we sell this framework. We try to sell it really inexpensively, so that companies can quickly spin up the environment and start to build their own use case through it, or use the use cases that we've already built.
No, this is great, and it's really heartening to see all of the various services that you have competencies around. That's really powering the supply sense application, and also more and more importantly, you mentioned the ability to ingest or bring in external, data from external data sources, which really makes any application so much more compelling. So you can develop more comprehensive insights. That's really good. Um, kind of make it a little more real in terms of a real world application. Are you able to talk about maybe one or two or any use case that you may have where the application has been deployed to help our customer achieve their supply chain based outcome?
Yeah, so a lot of this thinking came out of work we've done around fleet management for a very large, for one of the large OEMs, automakers. I wish I could say the name, I can't. And that or that yard management piece was critical. Understanding um, how to best get vehicles to the yard. And this was a big problem several years ago during the pandemic, right? It was very difficult to get vehicles into the country. It was difficult to move them across the country. As many of us recall, there was a shortage of drivers. There were areas of hotspots where the pandemic was worse than it was in other places. So the need to evaluate not just the cost of getting from A to B, but the risk of getting to A to B is what drove that first use case for us. And that's why we thought we would, we're taking that and building that into SupplySense. There'll be other use cases. One of the ones that we're working on right now is the idea of demand sensing. Everybody forecasts, right? And many companies have gotten pretty good at starting to use machine learning to enhance their forecasting. Demand sensing takes it to the next level. Demand sensing really starts to pull in more of the unstructured information out there, social media discussions. And we can do it in real time right now, right? Black Friday happened in the past, few weeks, and during Black Friday, became very, that time of year is very critical to see, is there demand for a certain item in a certain geo? And you see that not only through your sales data, but through the social media data, the clicks on e-commerce sites, things like that. So demand sensing is another area where we think it's this technology, this approach allows us to really drive value quickly. Again, our whole concept is don't change anything you're doing, enhance with what you're able to do through this approach.
Oh, this is great. And there's so much real as we sit having this conversation on literally Black Friday, right? I'm sure a lot of the retailers, a lot of the customers are really going to find that immense value. So thank you for that. This has been a really enlightening, conversation, at least, where you walked us through the key challenges our customers are facing, the approach that you're taking from a data perspective, the generative AI related approach that you need to take, and the supply sense more specifically to help address supply chain challenges, and of course your compelling use case here. So thank you so much for all of the key, your point of view here, Don. And for all the viewers, if they want more information about Reply and SupplySense, you'll find links below. And this has been really good. Thank you very much for your time, Don, and look forward to our partnership moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. And if anybody that's watched this video and it happens to resonate, please send an email to storm.us@reply.com. They get to me. I'm happy to answer them. And if you have a moment, click on our Storm Reply Inc. LinkedIn page. We like to throw a lot of our ideas and thoughts out there, and I think it might be worth a follow. So thank you, Vijay. I appreciate it.
Thank you.